Coming up this week on the Just Lifestyle Show, we're back with our regular news show. Gary's here, and we've got lots to catch up on. It's been a couple of weeks since we did one of these. We're going to talk about the new Surface devices that were launched from Microsoft a couple of weeks ago, what the Copilot Plus is, and the new Surface devices. We'll be talking about the new builds of Windows 11 as well, and why Copilot's changing it in Windows 11. And believe it or not, the Windows 10 beta program is back, so we'll be talking about that. Talking about some music tech news, because I've got a new device here, which I'm very excited about, and I've got a new PC on the way, and lots more. So let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
And you're back after, well, we had 2 weeks effectively off, didn't we? We didn't do a traditional show the week before, and last week I did a show with Dan from Korg. So it's good to have you back.
I really enjoyed that show last week. That was really good.
Yeah, Dan was fantastic, wasn't he? And he said, I gave too long answers. I said, no, they were great answers. And a lot of good feedback. In fact, that is our highest rated on YouTube anyway. That's our highest rated show so far. So, or one of the highest rated ones anyway. So we had really good interaction on that one. A lot of comments came in on that one. So yeah, it was interesting to hear how they were using the Raspberry Pi, wasn't it? And in these synths. Yeah,
it was really interesting. There seems to be a lot of music technology which uses Pi computing modules. There's a lot of the streamers out there seem to use those embedded in them, which is really good. Proves how good an audio device the Pi is.
Yeah, it does show you how good and flexible it is. And he was saying, it's not for cost. They cost more than some discrete components, but it's flexibility. It gives you that able to do whatever you want it to do, and that's what they've done with these synths here. So I've got the two of them here now out of the three that they do, which I'll talk about the other one in a minute. So yeah, that was really great to get Dan. Really enjoyed Dan. A knowledgeable guy in the business since the 90s. He worked on the Wave Station, which as regular listeners will know, it's my favorite synth. So one of my favorite synths anyway. So yeah, very good. Really enjoyed that one. So hopefully we'll get Dan back on the show in the future, because they're launching a reproduction of the RP 2600, which we touched on briefly in that interview. And I did break it out into a separate section in case anybody wanted to listen to that. But the 2600 is the semi-modular, and they're bringing out a virtual version of it, along with a Vox Continental organ and some other stuff. So we're going to be talking about that I think we're getting back on to talk about that when Korg release it later this year.
Excellent.
We also had, the week before, we did a live stream as well, which was quite interesting. So second live stream we did on sound design. That was really good fun. It's quite good fun doing the sound design sort of real time, starting with a initialized patch and then coming up with sounds as on the fly, and I went through all the different filter options on the Wave, and there's some really good comments in there, and live comments coming in, which is really good. The live stream does make that quite good, that you get sort of real time feedback. It's quite difficult because you're doing sound design, watching the screen, watching the comments, and making sure the streaming program's working and everything. But XSplit I used for that, and that worked quite well. So that was quite fun. I'll probably do another one next month now, or maybe next month now, into July, something like that. But in the meantime, we had plenty of things. We had the Microsoft event where they announced some new Surfaces. So let's talk about that first. So this time it was actually more consumer based than the enterprise based with the new Surfaces.
Yes, indeed, and lots of AI, which I don't totally understand.
Yeah, now we're going to hopefully getting someone from the Surface team on the show, maybe next week or in the next couple of weeks, to try and explain it to me, because it was quite confusing to what this AI stuff is, and it's not something you get on other PCs. But if I go through first on the hardware, these are ARM-based Surfaces that Microsoft announced. There was two, wasn't there? There was a laptop and a Surface Pro replacement. So I'll just bring the details up on those. So they looked quite interesting. So the laptop is, interestingly, laptop not mentioned by a lot of places, but the laptop actually removes the touchscreen. So it's not a touchscreen, the laptop, which I don't think many people realize that one. But yeah, it does. It does remove the touchscreen on there. So that means, the reason why Microsoft did that is to make it thinner. So it is thin. So let me, I'll share some images of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about removing the touchscreen. It sort of kind of moves away from the branding in some ways, doesn't it? Surface has always been touch.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. So this is the launch page. So we've got two Surfaces, the Surface Pro and the Surface Pro laptop. I think they're calling them 10th gen, as opposed to Surface Pro 10. But that one is, yeah. So the laptop one does remove the touchscreen, but it is very thin, thinner than previous devices. All running ARM as well. So that's going to be interesting. These are premium devices shipping to real customers. So this is not a dev kit, this is the real thing, isn't it? That's going out to users with the ARM processors in there. So they've got to make sure that ARM technology works right. They come with the Snapdragon X Elite, and I think there's an X Plus processor in them as well. Interestingly, they immediately say they're faster than the MacBook Air. They actually say that on their website. They've got some very nice screens on them, but I think the thing that they're pushing with this is the neural processing units in these, which is what a separate processing unit for, was it AI and things like that?
Yeah, for the copilot stuff. So for machine learning and processing. Yeah, it's trillions of operations per second. They count them in tops, which I think is a lovely measure. 43 top.
Yeah, see, yeah, you get a lot of tops out of one of these. 45 trillion operations per second with these NPUs. What that actually means to you as a user is quite interesting. So as well as the devices themselves, they've got these AI features, and this is what I wanted to get some comments from Microsoft on. But it's got recall on there, so Microsoft say you can find it. It gives you clues where you can remember, so you can use natural language to search and look through it. So I think you can say what document I worked on a document last Wednesday about the Surface Pro. Open that document, and so it's then using that processor on the local machine. So I don't think it's passing that back, is it, to the cloud? It's actually running it locally.
Yeah, they say it's all stored locally with privacy controls built in. And I know there's been a lot of controversy about this. There's a lot of people out there sort of worried about the fact that this is taking screenshots all the time and how secure it would be, and could a malicious third party get hold of that information, particularly for business use. I mean, I know this is actually aimed at conversion. But yeah, it's consumer, sorry, but it's yeah, if you can imagine, I mean, imagine if someone was bringing their own device into your business and was using it to access your proprietary stuff, and it was taking screenshots of that and then storing it on the device. You'd be worried about how secure it was, and I think that's the concern that's out there. But now I haven't seen the details of this, and I'm pretty sure that knowing Microsoft, they probably have got this pretty well locked down, because usually a lot of this stuff is because it's Microsoft. There's always this sort of negativity out there before it's even people have read the details. So I'd like to see detail of it. I'd like to hear exactly how they've actually protected from that, because the concept's great. Yeah, a number of times I forgot what I was working on yesterday, or in fact the last 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
it would be good.
Yeah, exactly. And they do say it is local stored. So I can see, though, it's the kind of things that domain administrators in big corporates are going to turn off.
Yes.
But like you said, these are consumer-based devices, not particularly aimed. That they're still aiming the Intel devices at the corporate world. So this would be for sort of consumer type ones. So interesting to see. It looks a good technology, but it's not something I can just run on my Surface Laptop Studio here or on a Dell Inspiron or whatever, because it's all tied in, wasn't it, that NPU? So you need to have, I think, Acer have got ones coming out as well. I think I remember seeing something. So I think some other manufacturers are going to be doing the same thing, but they'll have the Snapdragon in them as well. So I think it also does things like live captions as well.
And co-creating Paint looked quite interesting.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the AI overload at the moment, isn't it? And copilot overload, certainly, because all Microsoft products have some kind of copilot in them now. Some better than others, but yeah, interesting. They look really nice devices. The actual, the hardware itself looks really nice. You see from the video that I'll show a quick clip of them there. They are very nice and thin. I think they say that the 14-inch Surface has the same size screen as a 15-inch Surface because of the lack of bezels and that kind of thing. So, and of course they've all got the Copilot key built into them as well. So they do look really nice, excellent devices. This is a laptop and there's a Surface Pro one. I'd love to try one out. I'm certainly not in the market for one, but I would definitely like to try one out. But yeah, not cheap either. They start at £1,000, £999, I think, and same in dollars. That's for the basic one, and you can go up to sort of 2,500, 3,000 when you spec it up. And of course, if you're going to get your keyboard as well. So premium devices definitely, but interesting because they do differentiate it from other brands. But of course, it would be AI, wouldn't it, that they're using for that? That's AI everywhere at the moment. So that's the main changes. But yeah, definitely, I'd say. I mean, it's not really consumers either, isn't it? It's prosumers. Is that the term?
Kind of. Prosumers. I think that's sort of creatives. I think is probably where it's mostly targeted. Yeah. One interesting thing about the branding is it doesn't mention Windows. I mean, it's always been Windows PC, the ultimate Windows PC, and now it's the ultimate Copilot Plus PC without Windows being mentioned.
Yes, very true. That it's funny. Yes, you're right. Yeah, on the posts and the blog post it says Copilot Plus PC, not Windows PC. They're definitely emphasising that Copilot on there. Anyway, I think we'll try and get someone from the Surface team to talk about it. They do particularly. You mentioned about creatives. They do mention Creative Cloud on there, don't they? To be snappy and responsive. So I guess that's who one of their target is. Like you said, running Creative Cloud, doing sort of things like that on one of these devices. I'm not sure. Like I said a few times in the past about the ARM, things like music creatives might not be in the same boat because you've got things like low latency audio drivers and things like that. But it may be that they are there. So it would be nice to try them out. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to be interesting to see how they work in the real world with real sort of applications with compatibility issues and things like that. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how they go. But I don't think one's not on my shopping list at the moment. Now, talking of things like Copilot as well, we did get some builds, and we've had a few builds, and actually a couple of people asked me to resume doing the build videos. I didn't actually stop doing them as such. There just wasn't anything to show, but they are coming back. Some of the features in the builds, and we've got some. In fact, I've got some build news that just broke tonight as well to talk about. But what's one build we had last week was, and I'll share this window. 26227 for Canary, but this is the change on here is actually the same on the dev build which we had. So we also had a dev build which was if I can see my notes, 26120.751 because the dev build 24H2 is that they've changed how Copilot works. It's no longer a sidebar. So at the moment, if you're on any of the release channels, you get the sidebar of, in fact, show you on my screen, but I'll pause it on the video for the YouTube one. Yeah, so on my Surface, it's a sidebar, and on all these Windows machines, it's a sidebar at the moment, and you can kind of move it about a bit and drag it around, but not it's always the side of the windows and sort of pushes the rest of the windows to the left. If you can see from the video, it's now just a normal Windows app. So it's no longer a sidebar. It's just a Windows app which you can minimize, maximize, and close. So they've completely changed the way that works. So it's no longer, it doesn't appear as part of the OS anymore. It's now just an app. Yeah. So they say they're doing that because of consumer feedback, and I suppose that makes sense. I've not really been that keen on the sidebar element of it because I think it kind of took up a bit of screen space. In fact, I might as well just share my screen and I can show you what it looks like now, because in case anybody's not seen it. So if I'll share my screen. There we go. So you can see I've got my Edge browser open, but if I bring the sidebar in, it kind of puts it in front or place itself over the top of the window.
Yeah.
And I think one of the options, which is that one, was to actually pin it at the side, so you actually lose that bar. You could resize it and everything else. So that's gone now, that concept, and it's now just a window. So I don't know, it kind of loses its special featureness, I think, from that, but I suppose
It does,
if people want it.
So I wonder how much of that is to do with legal, because obviously they inbox it as part of the OS, then they have challenges, don't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Separate app, they have less challenges. An interesting one.
Yeah. So it's no longer a separate sidebar app. It's just a window now, and that was on 26227, but it was also on the dev build from last week as well. Other than that, there wasn't really many changes. There was a new setting for linked accounts, so you could see an Xbox setting or something like that, but that was it really with those builds. So and like I said, that's on the 26120.751, which is the 24H2. But one thing I noticed, just seeing tonight, actually, I had a chance to do a blog post, is they've opened up beta channel for Windows 10.
Really?
Yeah. So, the announcement here, So Windows 10 currently, previously, if you had a Windows 10 device that was on the Windows Insider program and capable of running Windows 11, if you flicked over to the beta channel, it would whack you on Windows 11. So if you're on a Windows 10 laptop, you put it on the beta channel, it would put you to Windows 11 beta channel. What they're doing now is you go onto the beta channel, you stay on Windows 10, but you receive the beta build for Windows 10, whatever the upgrade is. So what they said, they're allowing to try out Windows 10 version 22H2, new features in Windows 22H2. So not 24H2 as we get for Windows 11, 22H2. So basically this is a way of receiving updates early for Windows 10 without being forced to go to Windows 11. That's what they've done. So which means they must have stuff that they want to test.
I was going to say, yes, which is interesting in its own right.
Yeah. And they said the support hasn't changed and so on. So so you can give that a try now. If you've got a Windows 10 device, you won't get pushed to Windows 11. You can use one of those two options. And of course, if you put Dev or Canary, then you will be pushed to Windows 11 because there isn't a Dev or Canary for Windows 10. So that's an interesting change, that. And good to see that Microsoft is still thinking of Windows 10 and looking after Windows 10. But that's, I think, the catch up on the build stuff. So we've had a few beta builds, but nothing major. Although I was away on holiday actually when Windows 11 24H2 is now in release preview. So if you're on release preview ring, you will get 24H2. It's so hard to keep up with how the new features in 24H2 because they don't tie filters to features to a build anymore. So
yeah, it's really it's difficult.
Yeah. So what that 24H2 is going to exactly contain, we're not sure, but there are some features we've been testing out. I think there was quite a few there with the copilot stuff. There's some new settings. There's some new sharing experiences and things like that are in 24H2, and you can try that now if you go onto the release preview channel. And actually, they did push a Windows 10 release preview build out a few weeks ago as well. So there we are up to the Windows Microsoft blog news. I've got a few music tech things, but we could come back to. So over on the EV world, has there been any news from the last couple of weeks?
Well, I went to Everything Electric North when
Oh yes,
while I was off. There's a couple of interesting new car launches. There's definitely this Chinese invasion coming. Lots of interesting bits and pieces going on there. So Tesla have opened up the supercharger network a little bit more. I mean, there was a whole. I don't know if you actually mentioned this, but there's the whole thing of Tesla let the whole supercharger team go, and then recruited most of them.
Ah.
So it sounds like it was an internal falling out between bosses, as in Elon and one of his bosses, and basically ended up sacking everybody in the team, which seems a bit harsh, and then recruiting a lot of them to keep it going again. But yeah, so it's interesting, really interesting. As I said, that had an effect mainly in the States. I don't think it has had so much of an effect over here. One interesting thing which has been launched, I think this is Octopus Electroverse, which is their sort of roaming charging card, has introduced the idea of off-peak charging, so you can actually get different charging rates at different times of day. This is for the rapid chargers on the road rather than your home charging. Right. So you turn up at a services and you plug in, and if it's one of the ones which supports this Electroverse card, if it's at a certain time of day, you may get a cheaper rate than at another time of day. And some of those discounts can be quite substantial from what I've seen, sort of 20-30p a kilowatt hour. Doesn't make charging on the road much cheaper, but it's still interesting. But having said that, I mean, I was, so when I was off the podcast, I was on holiday and I was up on the North Yorkshire coast. So I went from Peterborough to North Yorkshire coast, which is quite a reasonable drive. Didn't charge because I had charging at my destination, which I think is always going to be the right approach. If you can get charging where you're going to. So because I've got enough range, I didn't need to charge, and I just charged on that charger. I mean, I could have charged because when I stopped at Blythe Services, which last time I stopped at, which is only probably a year ago, only had 2 chargers. Now has a whole bank of GridServe chargers plus a load of superchargers as well, which shows the expansion of the network. And it was a bank holiday weekend, and last May bank holiday, the press was absolutely full of stories of people queuing for chargers. It's been a nightmare getting chargers. I hardly saw any of that this time. And anecdotally, most people I've known who travelled on that weekend didn't have to queue very long at all for chargers. And managed to get charging. Yeah. So the situation is improving. I'm still worried about the cost of charging on the network. And I know some of that is down to, well, it's obviously the VAT. VAT is different when you're charging on out on the road as it is at home, which I think is fairly ridiculous. But the other thing is that the standing charges that the corporate are being charged now are horrendous. You think our consumer-based standing charges are bad, but the ones for the networks are. So until they expand their network out, they've got to split that over a smaller number of chargers. So hopefully, as they expand their networks, they can get that down, and it becomes a more viable thing. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I don't know how that standing charge works, if it's on based on location or what. So I'm hoping to get someone on to talk about that at some point soon, so we can get an idea on that. But yeah, no, the Everything Electric North was a really good show. I thoroughly recommend it if you're in the area, because it's a nice family event. It's really, really more relaxed than the London show was.
Right, yeah, and it's in a nice part of the world as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Harrogate's really nice. The show test drives were really good. It was nice to go out. Although there was a traffic jam back on the test drive. A couple of test drives I took, so it was a little bit interesting doing that.
yeah. Well, at least it was a nice, environmentally friendly traffic jam.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a good show, that one. So I think it's good that there is a north and a south one, because not everything is. Yeah, everybody can get down to London, and car shows down there.
Yeah, indeed. Or Farnborough, which is where the other big one is.
Yeah. Yeah, the Silverstone wasn't too bad. That was sort of in the middle-ish, but it's much better to have a north and a south one. They must have the people who want to go as well, which is nice. So there's the interest in it.
Well, it was quieter there than previous events I've been to on Fully Charged, but I think that was probably because I went on a Friday, and it was coming up to the bank holiday weekend and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's partly why, but I'm told it was reasonably busy on Saturday, Sunday. So and you could take loads of test drives. It was amazing. There's lots of cars to test drive.
Well, you need a bit of space sometimes, don't you? Because that for that kind of event, it's great that lots of people go, but when there's no, when it's too busy, it kind of makes it difficult to get around on it. It's a bit like when I've been going to the GT races. When I first used to go, it was fairly quiet and you could get around. The traffic was a lot easier. It's getting more popular now, but it has this negative of you've got more people there to compete with. But so it's like a good secret. But now it's it's busier. So you do want that balance where it's not got it's not completely full. Yeah. So and of course we don't go into politics, but there's been election call. Has any of the UK parties promising things within EV and sort of car ownership, that kind of thing?
I'm waiting to see detail actually, because they're all saying they'll carry on doing certain things. I mean, obviously we know what the current policies are. I mean, certainly there's historically there seems to have been quite a bit of support from some of the other parties over and above what was being said. We'll see. I mean, I haven't seen details. Everybody said they're going to support the off. I've forgotten the name of it, but the office which actually looks after the charging regulations and saying that should stay and prove that. Yeah, it will be interesting to see. I mean, one thing which Labour have said they'll do is they set up this Great British Energy, but what that actually would be and what it would do, I don't know. One of the talks they had there was to improve the ability to get infrastructure in place, which would be a really good thing to be able to sort out that. But again, I don't know the details of it, so I can't really comment on what they're planning.
Yeah, we'll see what they throw at you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that does throw spanners in works and makes it interesting, and nothing's going to happen in the world for a few months.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So over on the catch up on some brand news, I've got a couple of bits and pieces. I did change. I did order a Dell desktop for my music machine. So finally, my i5 Windows 10 machine is going. I was supposed to have it today. It was supposed to be out for delivery and delivered today, and it still says out for delivery. So it's not turned up today. So yes. Yeah, so it's a bit, and I had it delivered to the office, and I'm not in the office for a couple of days, so even more annoying. So I thought I'd have some time to spend with it here, but I went through a few different permutations of what options there are. I'll talk about it more next week, hopefully, and I've got it next week. But I did go for the i7 one, but it was interesting spec for spec, and I'll go through the spec next week. But you could get the same Inspiron desktop in the exact same spec with Alienware, but you paid sort of a £200 premium for the Alienware. So you got the Alienware, got you the nice case, with the neon, with the LED lights in it and that kind of thing. But it's going to be tucked out of the way. So I didn't go for the Alienware one. I went for just the Dell, the standard Dell one as well. But it is an i7. With one of the new 17 something K processors and 3050 graphics card. It was really, it's a processor. The newer sound tools just require a lot of processor, and in fact the new some of the new ones that are coming out, like the Core 2600 one, actually use the graphics card to do the UI. So I think you're going to need a fairly decent graphics card for it. So that's why. I mean, this whole laptop I've had since 2018, which I got for doing the VR stuff. So it's lasted a long while, but I am finding a lot of audio glitching now when I'm trying to do recording because it just can't keep up. So hopefully I'll have that for next week. But what I did get, I don't know if I can show you this. There is an unboxing video on YouTube channel, but I did get this, which is a Korg WaveState. So
Nice.
this is a rack mount model, which is the wave sequencing version of the mod wave, which I got the one with the keyboard a couple of years ago, but I got this one without the keyboard because I've already got a polyphonic aftertouch keyboard in one of the key stages. So I went hooked up with that. Very, very different instrument to the mod wave, but I have dabbled with some programming using the virtual version, but now I've got the actual one. I really started to get into it. It's a very complex and rich synth, and one of the ones that Dan talked about on the show last week, actually, inspired from the wave station. So it's got wave sequencing. So the mod wave is about wave tables, so that's the wave forms, and then modifying that. The wave state is about samples and sequencing them and crossfading them and doing all that kind of thing. And it's got these things called lanes and multiple lanes with timing lanes and pitch lanes and all kind of things like that. So really interesting. I've straight away got into a bit of programming on it to try and sort of teach myself how to use it. And what I have managed to do, because a lot of the core sounds and the wave sequences from the original wave station are included, so the presets aren't there, but a lot of the components sounds are in there. So what I've done is I've already got the virtual version of the wave state of the wave station. So what I've done is I've recreated some of my favorite patches from the wave station on the wave state. So maybe I don't know anybody else has done that, but they're not in the preset list. But those bits are all there. It's just a case of assembling by ear and tweaking things. So I'm going to have a sound set for those out in a couple of weeks. It's a way of teaching me into it. But it's one of those things, once you start playing with it, you get sucked into it, and then like 2 hours later, what have I done? I've lost all the time and spent on it. So it's really nice though. So yeah, I am enjoying playing with that. And I have got a couple of sound packs available. Sorry, say again.
Getting some decent results as well. I spent most of my holiday listening to your album.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, so that has got a couple of wave state sounds from the virtual version, but yeah, my next one will have that on. It's I've got so much fun of the sound design that I haven't actually done any recording. That's the one of the issues, but yeah, I'm gonna get into that. I've got a couple of sound packs available for it. Volume 2 of the Fairlight collection as well. So Volume 1 I did, which was strings and vocals. Volume 2 is guitar, bass, and drums. So that's those original 80s samples from the Fairlight that I brought over to the wave state and created performances around those, so that you can use those. So that's going to be on there. And I've started working on another set that's going down another rabbit hole. It's a Tangerine Dream set for the mod wave. So Tangerine Dream, enormous output from the sort of late 60s up to now, really, in various guises. Sort of favorite period was the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s. So I've got some of their sound. I've recreated their sounds, so I've just done that by ear. And I've actually recreated a couple of their tracks as well. So a few weeks before that will be out, but I have posted a teaser on my YouTube channel, and I'll have a few more teasers coming out soon as well. So I'm actually enjoying doing the shorts on the YouTube shorts. It's quite good fun, that. So plenty for me to be working on, and I've even had a bit of a change around. So I've got all the vintage kit over there and all the new kit over here. So, and they're all connected up by way of cables under the carpet and onto the mixer here. So I can control the old stuff from the new stuff, or the new stuff from the old stuff, and I can sort of decide how I want it. But it's interesting using these two other synths now. Is I tend to spending more time on the new stuff. I always use the vintage stuff, but I've actually used the vintage stuff less because these I really enjoy getting into programming on these. So. Yeah, it's been quite good fun. So plenty of sound packs available, so people can download those. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing that over the last few weeks, and I'll continue doing some videos on that as well, and so probably do some live streams as well. So no new album for a bit, but yeah, I've got enough sounds now to make 10 albums, so I should start doing them. So I've got a few songs written for a new album, but I think it'll be later this year before I start that one, because I've spent I so much time just playing these and creating sounds for them. I need to
actually
use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that, because I used to play a lot making sounds back in the day. It was always the thing to do, and then actually creating the music from them I wasn't always as good at. But you're very good at it, so I'm sure we'll have some great stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it. Once I get the new PC as well, I'll have the opportunity a bit more to do a bit more on that as well. So, yeah, hopefully Dell can sort that out and get it shipped. So that's everything from my side. Was there anything else you wanted to go through?
No, I don't. I think we covered everything I was going to cover. I think I'd love to get. Hopefully, we can get the Surface guy on, because I think that will definitely be really interesting to find out more on that side of things. More I'm reading, more I'm intrigued.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I definitely wanted to spend some more time on that. If anybody's got suggestions for guests as well, quite happy to take suggestions, so you can let me know. I will be trying to get some, let's say, I might get Dan back. I am going to try and get Pete Brown from Microsoft back on as well. We'll talk about building PCs for media applications and that kind of thing. And yeah, and you've got some guests lined up, so I've got plenty to be coming up with this summer. I've got a couple of holidays booked, but nothing too much. So where can we find you? You
can find me all over the place on the X. I think that's what we have to call it now, isn't it? Yeah. and all the other social media platforms, like Garry with 2 R's, WMA, or on YouTube on the Owner channel. And I will be posting some new stuff up there. We've got some interesting bits and pieces to put up there. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Well, you can find me at iSticks on X. Most of the interaction comes on our YouTube channel, which you find on the links. I think I'm at Ian Dixon actually, but you can find the link on the website on thedislife.com, or you may be even watching this on YouTube, so you already know about it. Anyway, so thanks for watching, listening, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.